Good afternoon, everyone. I, Apurva, Project Officer, on behalf of City University, would take pleasure of welcoming our keynote speaker for the session is CA Advocate Abhilash Aneja, who is legal and finance professional and expertise in the realms of finance and law, has paved the way for an illustrious career. He achieved an extraordinary feat by securing 33rd rank in the prestigious Chartered Accountancy examination. His expertise extends across a diverse array of domains, including income tax, GST, startups, internal control management, etc. Furthermore, Mr. Abhilash Aneja expertise extends beyond corporate endeavors as he plays an instrumental role in nurturing startup Mission Innovation, Mission Punjab, is going to deliver the session on the topic ethical and legal issues in entrepreneurship. Without any further ado, I would like to hand over the session to you, sir.
Okay. Okay. So, Apur, what are the kind of students we are addressing to? Management.
Management.
Management. Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. The topic which has been given is ethical and legal issues while doing entrepreneurship. Now, in any entrepreneurial venture, whether it is of a small scale, of a large scale, of a mid scale, the thing which matters is that ethics are to be followed by two parties. It's a two-way road. There are some ethics which are required to be followed at your end, some ethics which are required to be followed at your counterparty's end. As far as your ethics is concerned, there are a number of things which you can do to ensure that your organization is on the right track. Right formation of standard operating procedures. SOPs are the base foundation for any organization. SOPs are nothing but a checklist for any procedure which has to be followed in your organization. If somebody has to buy a product, what is the hierarchy that's to be followed for approving that? If anybody has to make a payment to a vendor, what is the procedure to be followed in that? This is a part of SOP. And just like any other function, your internal own expenditures as well as own incomes are also to be driven through SOPs. Second, labor practices. Labor law has to be followed across all verticals in your organization. And good conditions, harmony conditions, right payout of your employee dues. That is also covered under the labor law. If your organization is not following PFESI norms diligently, yes, this is an ethical misconduct in absolute terms. Third, what probable issue arises when you are running your entrepreneurial venture and an ethical issue arises? For example, I'll give you a practical example. Let's suppose you guys decide to start a startup. And when you decide to start a startup, there are only three entities which can be used for running your startup: private limited, limited, or LLP. This way, why this has been made mandatory for any budding startup is to confine the parameters. For every startup, there is a concessional tax rate as well. And there is also a rider clause. A rider clause that it has to be a new venture. You cannot split your existing business to create a startup. For example, you are running already a business or your family is already running a business. Let's suppose garment manufacturing. And then in that company, your tax rate is close to 30%. But you see the startup tax concession rate and you thought of using the same premises, same orders, just like any other startup. So you decide कि आप concessional rate का फायदा लेंगे. तो जब आपने कहा कि मैं concessional rate का फायदा लूंगा, तो आपने अपने existing business को ही use कर लिया, which is again the principles of startup. You have to incorporate a new venture, and then the concessional rate applies there and then. थर्ड, एक और आपको मैं एग्जांपल शेयर करता हूं अपने बिजनेस में कैसे एथिकल मिसकंडक्ट या एथिकल कंडक्ट का इशू आता है। फॉर एग्जांपल, जीएसटी आया। जीएसटी के अंदर बहुत सारे ट्रांजिशनल रिलीफ्स अवेलेबल थे। एथिकल इशू और लीगल इश्यूज एक साथ चलते हैं। एथिकल एंड लीगल इश्यूज गो साइमल्टेनियसली। When you are not following your ethical conduct, legal issues are bound to arise. And vice versa, when you are following your ethical conduct, legal issues will never arise. Ethical और legal issues दो तरफ रहते हैं. One is at your side, one is at your counterparty side. First of all, I'll tell you how you have to follow at your end. Your end, SOPs हमने देखा, labor practices की follow हमने देखा, कोई गलत declaration नहीं होनी चाहिए. There has to be no wrongful declaration from your end. This you have to make sure. Fourth, there has to be a governance procedure. Whatever is being done in your organization, that has to be checked across the board. And in your organization, you have to make sure that there are proper governance committees. Governance committees' role is primarily to ensure that whatever is being done in your organization is as per the law. Now, second case, you might be in control of your ethics, but it's not possible that you are in control of your counterparty's ethics also. So, how to ensure that your counterparty also adheres to the same ethics? That is only and only through proper legal agreements. I'll share you 5 examples which we faced in real life, and when the counterparty was not adhering to proper ethics, and henceforth the legal issue arose, and it was ultimately, half of the cases it was mediated, and in half of the cases the litigation went on. First example, a bank defaulter case. So we were at a bank audit, and we were searching for things, defaults, errors, issues in compliance, issues in non-payment by the borrowers. So in one particular case, the bank account of one borrower was very bad. It was very bad. He was not making timely payments. He was not servicing his interest. He was not servicing his principal even. So in that case, how it turned out that it's a pure failure. If anybody of you remember, there was a time when Volkswagen, the car brand, Volkswagen was amidst a very bad pollution emission scandal. And in this scandal, that was the point. This borrower was also having a Volkswagen agency. And because of the scandal, his sales was affected so badly that he was unable to make any payments. And this borrower was so cheesy in his approach. He was welcoming us. He was taking us to 5 stars. He wanted us to stay there for a good vacation. But that was the wrong part. He was becoming too cheesy. And slowly and slowly, when we started to unfold things, it turned out that he was at a very big default ratio. And ultimately, that account slipped into a bad loan account. Second case. So I have a client who is running a restaurant chain, a very big restaurant chain, who is having around 10 or 12 franchisees across Punjab. And in one of the cases, this franchisor gave a license to one particular franchisee to run his brand in exchange of a royalty. Of course, there were a lot of terms regarding the procurement of raw materials, terms regarding the specific furniture, terms regarding absolute adherence to a strict SOP. Just like any franchisor-franchisee relation. And this way, the franchisor wanted to ensure that all the USPs of his brand and all the strict procedures with which he has built his own restaurant, they are being followed properly. But it turned out that the franchisee is not following anything. He was practically using substandard materials. He was procuring from third-party vendors. He was absolutely not in sync with the kind of SOPs which were being shared by the franchisee. So now the franchisor initiated a term in its clause that you are liable to pay damages to me on account of poor implementation of the franchisee agreement. And henceforth, your franchisee agreement will not be renewed thereafter. And that is how they came across the table, sat down, discussed everything, and a solution was came thereafter. Now, please understand, the franchisor could only invoke this because he was having a very tight contract. The contract was having a clause that in case you make a default, the damages and the consequential effects are going to follow down. And henceforth, again, I repeat the same thing. When you have to enforce ethics from any third party, they can only be done through a legal contract. You can't do anything. The world is not good enough. So you have to be sure that your contract is tight knit. I show another example, a landmark ethical and legal issue example. Everybody knows about Anil Ambani, Mukesh Ambani. Anil Ambani was given the telecom sector upon an in principle partition between both the brothers. And this partner, this Mr. Anil Ambani, he ran a telecom venture, but it failed miserably. Now, Mukesh Ambani launched Jio in 2016. That was not because he couldn't launch earlier. That was because there was a 10-year non-compete agreement between both the brothers that they cannot enter each other's business line if there is not a gap of 10 years. And this is where the importance of legal contract again comes into the picture. A non-compete clause, if it was not adhered by Mukesh Ambani, or if he had launched before the period of 10 years from the date of his launch of his brother's telecom venture, there would have been a legal tussle. But thankfully, he played very smart and he ultimately launched his telecom venture only at the time when 10 years got elapsed. Fourth case, legal and ethical issue case. So one of the borrower, he was making a default with the bank. Of course, there are various problems with the bank that were being faced by him. He was not able to repay his principal installments. He was not able to make any interest payments. But the bank still did not possess his properties. It was because of one simple reason which he gave to them. That, okay, I am unable to make the payments right now. I am unable to make the right installments right now. But you kindly see the kind of livelihood, the kind of number of people which are dependent on my factory. And this is where the practical situation comes. In real life, ethics and legal go on an adjustment phase. You have to adjust both of the things together. Nobody can run only on contracts. Nobody can run only on ethics. There has to be a very correct balance. When you step into the field, when you step into the real industry, when you step into the real world, you will get to understand more what I'm saying. And the ones who are working and they are absolutely aware of this. Legal and ethical issues or legal and ethical base on legal or ethical foundations, they are the pillar of organization. I'll conclude this. I have a meeting scheduled in next couple of minutes. I won't be share much now. Your ethics are in your hands. Make a good SOP policy, make good hierarchy structures, do not make any wrongful declarations to the law, do not take any wrongful benefits from the law, do not make any wrong claims to the law. And similarly, do not let anybody misuse you as well. And that is how make proper agreements, make clauses that in case of non-adherence, what are the penalties in violation. Make sure that your agreements just analyze what can be the possible fallouts in case things don't work out. There has to be a specific effect that this is how things will go in case this is not working out. So there has to be very, very clear cut written execution in your contracts as to the possible effects if things don't work out. Everything becomes a part of discussion when things are not going rosy dozy for everybody. If two parties are making money, nobody questions anybody. If two parties are not making money, the problems arise there and then. And this is what the agreements and the contracts come into the picture. I guess that's enough. Apurv, I'll like to leave now.